When we first saw the BMW M2, some people on Twitter reached for the sick bucket. To say that they didn't like the styling would be a massive understatement. I, on the other hand, I think it has a certain charm. But it's definitely grown on me anyway. And let's face it, looks are subjective, so what does that matter? What does matter is, does it drive well? Right, I'll put you out of your misery. The answer is yes. It's very good fun. It's very fast. It's very powerful. It's basically like a right little muscle car. So I'm afraid if you're one of the haters out there, you might just have to eat some humble pie because this is a very, very fun car.
We've already brought you an unboxing of this car, which is our new long-termer, where we explained the finer details. Later in the year, we'll be taking it out on track, but today it's time for a good old road test to see what makes the M2 tick.
Let's begin with the engine. It's a good one. It's basically the same as the 3-litre turbocharged straight 6 that you have in both the BMW M3 and M4, except here it makes 460 PS and 550 newton meters of torque. So it's not quite as powerful, but it will do 0 to 62 in 4.4 seconds. And it will carry on all the way up to 174 miles an hour flat out. It sounds so good.
Woo! As for the gearbox, BMW provides a choice, either a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed automatic. This particular car is fitted with the auto, and it really does work well with the engine to deliver exciting, immediate performance. In fact, with the automatic, the 0 to 62 drops to 4.1 seconds. Plus, these paddles are pretty fun in their own way.
Of course, it's not all perfect. There's a perception that this car is a little bit on the heavy side. It weighs 1.75 tonnes, which is almost the same as its bigger brother, the BMW M4. So why is that?
The reason is that underneath the bodywork, the M2 rides on the same platform as the larger M3 and M4. The same was true of the first generation M2, which also shared its underpinnings with its big brothers. And it's not like it's noticeably less luxurious. The new M2 is more spacious and upmarket than before, so the weight is understandable. The range of interior colours isn't as wide, just cognac and black are available in the UK, but you get virtually the same technology, including a beautiful twin-screen infotainment system.
I mean, it all looks very pretty and it works quickly, but I just want some physical buttons. For example, if I want to put the seat heater on, I just want to push a button. I don't want to have to go into the menu and go on a mission looking for it. I guess you just get used to it though, right? One thing I can get used to is the fact that it has rear seats. Unlike some of its rivals, like the Alpine A110 and the Porsche Cayman. I mean, there's not masses of room, but it's okay, not too bad for a grown-up. One thing you can do is put these seats back flat so you can make the most of the 390-litre capacity. A hatchback would be more usable, but it's a decent daily car.
So, it's got plenty of tech, decent practicality for a sports car. What about value? It's worth noting that the M2 is cheaper than its big brothers. This car costs £65,000. The M4, £82,000. A Cayman GTS, which uses an equivalent 6-cylinder engine, although with less power and slower acceleration, costs £73,000. When you keep that in mind, this thing seems like a bit of a bargain, especially for the performance on offer.
It really is very lively when you put your foot down. I mean, it might actually be more responsive than the M4. It's definitely a lot of fun. The steering wheel is a little bit on the chunky side, which might be a bit annoying if you've got small hands. But it's sharp though. Might not be quite as sharp as the Porsche Cayman, but it's responsive enough. Driving position's good. You do sit pretty low though, so visibility might be a little tricky if you're not very tall. I much prefer these comfort seats over the bucket seats. That must be an age thing. And everything's adjusted electrically. The suspension, meanwhile, controls the body well and does a reasonably good job of absorbing the bumps. It has 19-inch wheels at the front, 20s at the rear. There is a bit of road noise, but it's really not a deal breaker. It's perfectly acceptable. And the engine sounds rather pleasant when you're cruising. Sounds even better when you floor it.
Back to the issue of weight. Now, I mentioned earlier, this car is almost as heavy as the M4. Only 55 kilos separate them. But the truth is that the weight is mostly psychological. If you think about it, you can convince yourself you're feeling it. But if you're just driving the car and enjoying it, it's really not an issue. And cornering is properly fun. It's composed in the bends and has great grip at the front. Push too hard on the throttle in a corner and those rear wheels will spin up, but you'd expect and appreciate that in an M car. Don't be fooled by anyone talking negatively about the automatic gearbox in this car. It's well matched to the engine. The gears are very tightly spaced, so it revs its way through each gear quickly and urgently, and makes the car feel more alive than it would with a manual.
Is the M2 as good as a so-called proper sports car? Look, it's never going to be quite as special as the likes of a Porsche Cayman, right? And the Alpine A110 is lighter and probably more agile. But the M2 is fantastic fun to drive, and it's definitely very powerful. It has plenty of practicality and personality in the bucket load. So, ignore the haters out there. The M2 is a brilliant piece of kit.